Okay, 1 second. I actually just come home, so I'm sorry, this is all really jumbled up today. Okay, it seems like it's working. Okay. Okay. So, I want let's wait like 5 more minutes, maybe less, but people are already joining. Okay, I see. It's fine. I'm gonna do the last story before people join. Okay. Super excited to see you all here today again. I love seeing familiar faces. You know, some people I see them since the first workshop, and it's like what workshop number 9, 8 now. And you guys are still here. I'm surprised. No, I'm not surprised, like in a bad way, but I'm happy that you are still here. You're still following. You still find this interesting. So very grateful for all of you who are interested in this. Okay, people are maybe I didn't even need to make the story, but I'm still going to just for the sake. But I think since we are a split audience as always, guys, so this half of the people are here that want to ask questions and the other half are on YouTube, so don't be surprised if you see less people here, more people there. It's fluctuating sometimes because sometimes people don't want to ask questions or be in the Zoom, which is totally fine. I get it. So if you want to check it out on YouTube, you can as well. That's totally available right now. Okay, so let me see. I want us to. Why is the internet so bad? 1 second, guys. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, I'm just checking if the live stream works. Because otherwise we will have no recording and then people will harass me like it happened with the first few workshops when I wasn't recording them yet and then everyone was mad at me. But now we're recording. I learned from my mistakes, okay? Okay, so I think we might as well begin since everything's done now. Apologies again, I'm so frazzled from university, whatever. While everyone still comes in, I would like to give a little introduction. As always, I'm going to let the person that's way smarter than me speak very soon, but I do want to give you guys some introduction and something to so you can know. Can you also record the session, send the link later? The session is recorded on my YouTube, so you can check out the YouTube. It's a link in my bio, and then you will find the session recording there. Okay, that took me off track. Welcome to another AI and architecture workshop. As always, we're here on a Friday evening to have a little something interesting, some education before our lovely dinner and a well-deserved weekend. And today I'm super excited because we're going to be talking about something I've never tried to use AI before, but I've always been curious if you can actually use it for that. So I have a very special guest, which is Erik Forsberg. I'm going to explain who he is in 1 second. But before we begin, here's a little agenda of what this will look like. We will begin with, as always, a little welcome from us. I'll explain again what this workshop series is about, then why we even need AI in massing design. Like, what does that even mean? Because I had to understand it first before I signed up for this. It's a very interesting topic. Well, massing, we all know what massing is, but AI in that, okay, interesting. Then we'll do a little guest introduction, then Hektar.AI introduction, which is the AI tool platform that Erik and his co-founders have created, which is super exciting. And then we have the demo, which is the main part, what you guys are probably looking forward to, how to actually use the AI on a day-to-day basis. So let's begin. Why do we even need AI in massing design? So massing, I don't know about you guys, but I always see people doing massing at my office, and it's always like a huge amount of time. Like even at the beginning of the project, you always have to see like, oh, how long? What are the regulations? How does it even look like? And I always wish there was a tool that could like help you figure it out without digging through countless amounts of books and stuff and figuring out how to set it properly, because that is also difficult stuff. So if it would be really cool to have an AI that helps help generate design options with massing, or reveal different possibilities you can take, and just better understand the constraints and the laws that basically limit you in massing, because that is also an important topic. And this is where Hektar.AI comes in for me, because this is how I even came to this whole spiel. So let me introduce our guest. You already see him. He's the other person with the camera on. As always, it's just me and the guest. This is Erik. So Erik is the co-founder and CTO of Hektar.AI. He holds a master's in complex adaptive systems, which I'm going to have to ask you what that means, because it sounds really cool, but I don't know what that means. He's specializing in algorithms, also generative design, and of course, AI. And he's responsible for bridging technology and architecture and creating the systems that then turn data and communication into creative design decisions. Okay, that was a long sentence for me, but I hope you guys understand that this is someone who's really working on the actual AI, and because CTO means the person that actually creates the technology. So I'm super excited about that. But what is Hektar.AI? So I'm just going to give a broad idea of what I understand it is. Erik is going to do a much better job of explaining it, but this is just how I understand it so far. So Hektar.AI is a generative design platform that helps architects create massive models in minutes instead of days. Okay, sounds great, right? What does that mean? It means we can use AI-driven algorithms to help integrate them into 3D workflows. So you can check out different massing options. You have key parameters you can set, which I wish I had that earlier, because that would have saved me so much life, energy, and time. And you can also visualize the impact, which is amazing. So I'm super excited for that. If you guys don't follow them on LinkedIn yet, I really highly recommend it. I'm going to put the link in the chat later on, and also in the description of the video, because I follow Sophia, which is the other co-founder, and now also Erik, of course. But Sophia always posts about stuff they're doing with Hektar.AI and different tools in AI, and I'm just so impressed by all of it. So I'm really excited for that. But without further ado, I would love to give it over to Erik to actually explain to us what is going on with Hektar.AI.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Maria, for that great introduction, and thank you so much for having us today. I'm really excited to get this opportunity to present Hektar to all of you. And maybe just super briefly about myself. I mean, you did a really good job of introducing me already, but I can maybe start sharing my screen. I think
Yes,
you need
please.
to accept my screen sharing. So
sorry about that.
That's all right. Yeah, so my name is Erik, and I'm the CTO of Parametric Solutions. And so the company is called Parametric Solutions, and we're developing a product called Hektar.AI. And I mean, just like you mentioned in your introduction, the core idea is to make urban planning, and especially early stage development, faster and easier than ever. And it all came from me and my co-founder. We worked as contractors maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and we helped out architects and urban developers to do different kinds of massing studies in the early stages, basically evaluating different pieces of land for development. And we did this as a service, and we kind of got the idea that maybe this is something that we can automate, is something that we can do productify, if you will. So that was kind of the seed to the idea that later became Hektar. So this is our website. Please check it out if you want to. But I mean, it's basically based on that you can select the site, you can choose different typologies of buildings, and then it's all based on data, so you can kind of and I'll go into that a little bit deeper later on in the presentation as well, but kind of flipping the workflow that you can start out with key parameters and use that as a basis for your design that you want to create, and then of course share the findings with your colleagues and the people that you work together with. And I think I will, like you said in the introduction as well, I will give you a brief overview of team and who we are. And then I want to, maybe before we jump into the demonstration, I want to share a little bit of I picked out some I cherry-picked some of our documentation in Hektar, like how it actually works, because I think that's can be interesting to have a look at that. It sounds boring with like documentation, but it looks nice. I think we'll be fine to get a little bit of an idea of how Hektar works behind the scenes, and then we jump into the live demo, and then
Amazing.
maybe like a short Q&A in the end, so we can answer some questions as well. But basically, this is the team. We're a small team based in Sweden. We're all so what I think is important is that we are all like developers and we write software, but we are also architects. So all of us have some sort of like connection to the building industry. And I think that's really important because architecture is it's a very complicated thing. So you need to actually understand how like not just architecture, but like urban planning, like what parameters are kind of setting the scene or setting the constraints for how good urban planning works. So that's kind of the idea behind the team when we built this team. And of course, we're all like developers as well, and we love to write software. So that's a little bit about us, and I think I'll start here. So what I wanted to share was a little bit of our documentation regarding like different, we call it different architectural scales, but basically like Hektar, I mean, it's a tool for urban planning. So it needs to cover like not just one specific scale, not just like the urban scale or like the apartment scale, but it needs to live somewhere in between. Like it needs to understand the context of each building and each like living unit, if you will, to the whole, and the other way around as well. So I wanted to share this and just give you a little bit of an understanding for what's going on in the background. So first of all, what is Hektar? Well, it's a web-based augmented CAD tool, you could say. But I think the important thing to understand is that it consists of basically two parts. One is what we call augmented drawing. So basically a way of like drawing things and get instant feedback on what you're drawing. And then we combine that with generative capability. So basically a way of specifying different metrics or different goals, constraints, and getting some sort of like design output based on that. And these are like the two parts of Hektar, you could say, and they're both like combined, or like you can separate one from the other, but it's more like a iterative process where you can use both of them to better understand the site. So if we look at the architectural scales that I started talking about, I mean, this is very idealistic. We have tried to like make it comprehensive and divide it. Of course, there are like multiple subscales for each of these, but you can say that you have like the urban scale where you look at maybe districts and like big parts of the city, basically, where you have like parks and you have different types of urban functions. And then you can go down on like a network scale where you have maybe like the quarters where buildings can be placed. And you have the parcel scale, which can be like either just a single parcel with a building or like a big parcel with a lot of buildings. And then you have the building scale, which is the physical building itself. And we have also chosen to take it a couple of steps further. So you have like the type plan, which is like the normal plane for the building. And the next one is like the apartments and maybe like the staircase and the configuration of each type plan, so to speak. When we look at this this is a little bit of terminology, like where Hektar works. But if we look at the process, you can say that Hektar tries to like you can basically start anywhere in the scale, and the end goal is always to like get an understanding on all of the different scales. But you don't have to be on a specific like building scale or like the urban scale. Hektar is like you can kind of choose where you want to jump in and do the studies. So if we look at we call it typologies, but the engine behind is basically, it's based on like architectural logic that is defined as different typologies. And when we say typology, what we mean is it's standardized solutions for how you can solve something on a specific scale. And all these like different solutions, we categorize them based on certain geometric and data-driven properties, basically. So we can say that we have different types of buildings. We have point houses, for example. They follow like a certain architectural logic. We have slab buildings. They are more like long and narrow, if you will. And you have L-shaped buildings and U-shaped buildings. And of course, you can probably come up with much more than this. But this is just a way to like try to make the different scales more comprehensive and easier to like understand and categorize. So the way that Hektar works is basically that on each of these different scales, we start out with like a library, which is pretty much like based on real world examples and like how things have been done in the past. So it's based on like good examples of architectural buildings or street networks or whatever scale it can be. So we have that as like the starting point. And then for each study you do, we have some sort of viability check where we see like for this particular study, which ones of these are relevant, which ones are not relevant or cannot be used. And then we have like a selection layer, we call it. And that's basically where the clever algorithm or the AI comes in to like based on all the different inputs that the user gives and based on also input that the user doesn't give, such as like sunlight and different conditions, which ones of the viable solutions are the best, basically, to achieve the targets that we have set up. And I mean, we do this on all different scales, both on like core scale, on the type plan scale. It looks kind of like this. So we have these you can call them archetypes or like solutions that are defined by some common denominator, and they all have some sort of flexibility, so they can grow in certain directions, and they have constraints for how they can work. And we combine that with the inputs from the users to find the best solution for that particular volume study. So these are some examples of the core typologies that can be created using Hektar. So we have categorized them both on the like how many apartments you have on each normal plane, but also like the geometrical properties, how much facade area you have for each apartment. And what's nice about this is that when you start to like categorize them in this way, you can also find like certain things that are common between these. So we know that, for example, that we can always fulfill the like the requirements for what is the minimum amount of facade area we need for this apartment. How many apartments do we have that are double-sided, for example, over a certain area threshold? So we kind of like we can solve a lot of problems just by doing this smart categorization and selection step. And of course, this is also done on the building scale, where we divide the buildings into different ways that they can be created, basically, and also on the parcel scale, which we call parcel typologies. So and on that scale, it's based on like it's much more based on the like geometrical properties of a certain area. So if you have a parcel that is complicated in shape, we kind of try to understand what are the main directions in this parcel, like where should the buildings be placed, both in terms of like how they interact with existing buildings in the neighborhood, but also in terms of how they interact with themselves, like what's being generated. And on the network scale, it's basically based on, I mean, it's based on the grid that you can either generate in Hektar, or you can create it yourself with the tools. So that's kind of like the argument drawing part, that you can add certain urban elements as well. So I feel like I've been speaking for quite a while now. So maybe this is good time to stop showing you documentation and actually jump into Hektar and show you what it's actually about. So let me just switch tabs and have a look at Hektar. So I'm not sure if maybe some of you are familiar with Hektar since before. I suppose that some of you aren't. So this is what the tool looks like. Hektar is a freemium software, which means that it's free to create an account and start using Hektar. So I very much encourage all of you to after the session, like, go ahead and create an Hektar account and try it out yourselves if you find this interesting at all. And there are certain like limits to like how much you can generate and so on, but you can actually, or you can at least get a feeling for it, and you can start exploring it yourself. So please go ahead and do that. So I think I'll actually, yeah, let's jump in and do a new project. So the use case here is that I'm an architect, or I'm a property developer, and I have maybe a certain piece of land in mind that I want to explore, and I want to get some numbers based on that specific property. And when you're in Hektar, you're always inside of a map. So that's kind of one big difference from like traditional CAD tools. You're always working inside of the map, which also means that you have data available, like geographical data. So we can have a look at that to begin with, maybe. So these are like different layers of information that are available directly in the map. So we have certain like global layers. For example, we have noise pollution layer that is global. So you can kind of get a feeling for like different noise levels, which can be informative for the design that you want to create, and also for the algorithms that are creating the design for you. And then, of course, we also have like regional data. So here in Sweden, for example, we have like the property regions, and we have like detailed plans. So you get a lot of data out of the box when you work in Hektar, which you normally have to like source from different sources. So that's like the first problem that we're trying to solve, like getting all the data in there. And of course, you can also like when you have sometimes you need to base your design on something that is not available in any public records. So you can of course also like upload your own data to aggregate what's already here. All right. So maybe that's that about the data. Yeah, let's create a project. So let's say that this parking here is my property that I want to explore. So I can create property, or like a project area based on that. So as you can see, when I create my project, what's happening here is that it selects like a context window, which you're probably familiar with this concept since before, because you're probably architects. So you have some sort of like, this is like the immediate context of my property that I want to like influence my design. So what this means is like all these green buildings are the buildings that are like relevant for the project and that are being created for the project. So we can name the project something, AI workshop, and then that's pretty much it for creating a Hektar project. So this is just like setting up the like kind of getting all the data together, like where in the world am I working right now, and setting up the project. So once I'm done with that, I'm not of the project, and here is where here's where the fun begins, I think. So now you can see I have my property here, and there are certain things I can do. I can either just like click the magic button right away, but I'm actually gonna start by defining some constraints. So let's say that I, for example, want to have want to have a road dividing the site in the middle, I can draw that in. And so this is kind of the argumented drawing part. So what happens is I draw a road, but what's actually happening in Hektar is that I'm creating two different parcels. So when you draw something in, Hektar kind of like understands that we're not going to place any buildings on this road. So it divides the site into two different parcels that I then can use to define different constraints. And let's say that, I mean, we have a uh, a small river or something here. So maybe we have some flooding risk from that. Yeah, we have a lot of flooding risk. But let's say that I want to have some sort of like minimum distance from this source of water. So I can draw in like either I can use a parking maybe to say that it's fine to have a surface parking on this part of the site, or I can just draw it in as a restricted area to say this is not going to be part of the generation. But I choose to add it as a parking right now. And what happens is that I can specify like the area per parking for this particular parking, and I immediately get like the number of parking spots that I get for this parking. And when I'm clicking the generate button, Hektar will also know this and take that into consideration when it calculates like the parking demands for the what's being generated basically. So let's start by defining something. So we can say that maybe we want to have uh, so first of all, it's all based on like floor area ratio. That's like the main parameter in Hektar. So we want to find like a solution that has a certain floor area ratio. So basically, like how much building floor area you have in relation to the footprint of that particular part of the site. So let's say that we want to have maybe slab buildings on this part of the site with a quite low FAR. And we allow both underground parking and elevated courtyard parking, let's say, and we want to have a parking ratio of 0.4 is probably a good measure in this context. And then I can specify like a unit distribution. I'll just leave it with the defaults for now. But we can jump into this part of the site as well, and we say, okay, I mean, here I want to try out maybe point houses and L-shaped buildings, and I want to have a little bit higher floor area ratio. So I'm just going to leave it at that for now. It's a quite easy specification, but it's always good to start out somewhere, and that's kind of the idea behind Hektar as well. That it's not really about like finding the ideal solution right away. It's more about like exploration and like trying something out and go back and change something, and I mean that's kind of trying to mimic the way that architects always work. So this is kind of like a kind of I just created one scenario right now. You can also create multiple scenarios at the same time. So I can go ahead and say I want to create 3 different scenarios. I have something to choose between. But while we're waiting for that, we can maybe have a look at this. So you can see that it created like an L-shaped building. This is probably a little bit too dense for this location, which I can keep in mind when I create my next generation. And yeah, so what's interesting here is that, I mean, you get the geometry, of course, but what's really exciting is that you get all like the understanding or the data understanding of it as well at the same time. So for example, straight out of the box, I can select like I can see how many bedroom apartments do I have in this particular part of the site right now. So I have 90 different specifically 2-bedroom apartments are all of these. And I can kind of like ask questions such as like what is the what is the net internal area of all the units in this building block combined. We have a net internal area of 2,271 square meters. And then I can start to like compare different scenarios. I can say, okay, here the algorithm kind of like obey the same inputs, but it chose to create like a lamella structure on this part of the site as well, or instead. It seems like it's really liking the L shape on this part of the site. It's probably based on like the terrain slope or something like that. But I mean, if I really want to try something else out, I can go in and I can say that I actually want to have like a U shape. Let's do U-shaped buildings, U-shaped building, uh, and reduce the floor area a little bit to see what it comes up with. And as you can see, like it already starts to be like interesting, and you can start to like understand how different design decisions affects the generation. And you can also like do some preliminary like shadow studies and like understand how the shadows will look like throughout the year, and also like sun simulation. So I can either do like a vertical sky factor, just like how much vertical sky each building gets access to, but also like direct sun. So we can simulate that directly in Hektar, and we get some sort of like understanding for which parts. Like you see here, down here is probably like this is going to be too dark probably. So when I have that understanding, I can go in and say I want to rework this scenario, and we can see that this is going to be an issue. It's probably too tight and too narrow for what we want to achieve. So I can go ahead and I can lower this building a couple of floors. Maybe do like something like this, like go up one floor at a time. And when I click generate based on this, it's gonna both like obey my numeric inputs, but it's also gonna listen to like the inputs that I gave the buildings, and it's gonna change that. And I mean, of course, the data follows along. So I think that's maybe like a really brief introduction to Hektar and like the workflow that we're trying to convey to people. And I mean, worth mentioning as well is that I mean, Hektar is we're a startup, and we're trying to have a vision that we want to help people and architects and to like do these sorts of studies in a more in a smarter way, and in a way that feels like you can understand the site in a better way. But we're nowhere near like being done. So we're always adding new features and new ways of working, and I mean one of the most important things is that people are actually using Hektar, and they come back to us and they tell us like, okay, I'm trying to do this and that, and I would love to see this functionality being implemented. That's kind of what gives us the motivation to go forward and to know what to do next. And right now we're working on a really interesting development initiative that is, we call it Edit Site, which is going to be, I'm so excited about this. So it's probably like 6 or 7 weeks away already, but it's going to be really cool, because then you can kind of like go in and change things up directly in the view mode, so to speak. So I will be able to go in and like switch just one building footprint or one normal plane and so on. So, and that's based on a lot of like user feedback that control is important. You need to be able to like get these like really quick geometrical overviews and the data, but also you need to be able to like narrow in on a specific part of the site or a specific building volume or just one apartment and be able to set the parameters on that scale as well. Yeah, so like I said, that was a quick demonstration of Hektar. I hope it gave you some thoughts maybe, and I hope that some of you will create an Hektar account and try it out yourselves. So yeah, thank you so much for
Thank you so
listening.
much. That was so interesting. This is like Hektar is way more than what I thought it was initially, which is super exciting. I think I have a question about because I'm immediately thinking about how I could use it as a student. So, for example, if I create some variation of buildings that I like, can you export it as a DWG? Can you export it as a PDF? How does is it just can you then just take it in different scales and like how would that work for me?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sorry. So I probably forgot like a lot of things in the demonstration.
No, that's
But of
fine.
course, you can export it. So we're Rhino native. I usually say
Mhm.
so.
Oh,
Rhino is like
perfect. Me too.
that's like it's nice for architects, right?
Yeah.
Property developers are a little bit more concerned about it, but it's Rhino native. So Rhino is like the default export format, but we're also supporting like uh, I can't remember exactly, but I think we have like OBJ and we have DWF and we have you
Oh
can also
wow.
do like a PDF report if you want to do that, and you can export data in Excel. So we have some couple of different like export formats, but I think the if you have Rhino installed on your machine, I think 3DM is probably
Amazing.
the one you should go for, because then you have all the
Yeah.
layers and like the data already in there as well. So
Definitely. That's so interesting. So then if I create the variation, I can just export it as OBJ and then just edit it in Rhino and then just go from
yeah,
there basically.
exactly. And
That
what a lot of people use it for as well is that I mean you also get like the context
yeah,
model. So you get like
I was
both the
gonna say that,
terrain,
yeah.
you get the terrain,
Yeah.
and it's actually really high quality terrain data for at least most of Europe. So like it differs based on country, but it's usually like down to like at least 1 meter in detail level. So that's also really useful to just have that as an export directly from Hektar,
Wow.
and also like context buildings and all of that. You know the drill.
Yeah. I really appreciate the light and noise analysis because I've never seen that before in an AI, and it's something I always have to do by hand
Yeah,
for
yeah,
drawings or figuring it out with QGIS. Sorry, I can't even pronounce it. And then the other like Climate Studio and whatever it's called. But I think just clicking a thing and then it shows me where the light will be, and then that's just incredible. Honestly, I might just use it for that, to be honest, to
exactly.
figure
And
out
I
where the light is.
actually completely forgot the about the noise simulation. So you can visualize the noise in Hektar, but you can also use the noise as a design driver. And I actually didn't show that,
Ah,
but we have like this when I drew the road and the parking, we also have tools for like you can specify from which direction noise comes from. And Hektar will like interpret that and use that as a driver for the design. So it will choose the typologies with like double-sided apartments, and it will try to like close it off towards the noise to make better like courtyards and stuff like that. So and that's a really important point. Like you have so much data to that you can possibly bring in, but sometimes you know that there will be some sort of like noise fence or something. So you don't want to just like bring in all the data without like giving the user control. So we kind of
mhm.
shows the road in between that you can see the data and you can interpret it yourself, and you can use it as a design driver for the design that is being generated.
That's incredible. We have a question from the chat. So Luna was asking, is I assume the question means how much geodata is available from other countries. You just said Europe. Can you maybe go more into detail, like what specific countries and how far does it extend?
Right. So I mean, there are a lot of different countries, so we don't have data for all of them, but we have
Yeah.
quite good data for the US. We have in certain states, and we have data for like most European countries, we have, or probably almost all European countries, we have at least like administrative data, like property regions, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then we have certain like global layers. For example, the like population data is global, and so you get like the demography of the region or the
Mhm.
area, and noise data is global. But yeah, and I mean it's a really hard problem to solve because usually the data is like it's sourced from like local authorities. So what we encourage people to do is that we have like in this layers panel that I showed you, you also have this button like I'm missing something. Please add it in. So what you can do is you can request something, and we have a really like easy way for you can add it yourself, but you can ask us to do it. And once we have added it, if it's open data, it's going to be available for everyone. So it's both like getting better data in Hektar, but also doing a good deed at the same time for all other users.
Yeah. It's a nice public service. We have two specific questions for two countries. So I'm just gonna, one is person asking for Canada, the other one's person is asking for India. Can you say something about those two?
I think it's only I'm not 100% sure. You probably have to go in and try it out yourself.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
might
have
have
it
to
all in
check
my head.
that.
I mean, you at least have the base layers, which I think is quite like
Yeah.
you have the train data, you have like the noise data, you have the population data, and like buildings and roads and everything. Uh, I'm not sure about the custom layers, but I mean, if you know that there are public authorities with open data, please go ahead and request it, and we will add it in first thing Monday. So
Okay. So yeah, so guys, I think obviously not everyone can keep every single country in their head. Maybe just go check it out. I think even if it's not fully all the features are available for your country, it's still such an interesting program to play around. And even just for because I'm not deep into urban planning, like I'm an architect, but playing around with how the typologies can fit, I think that's so interesting just to try it out, even if you can't use the full thing yet in your country.
Mhm.
And obviously, this is a startup. Like we have to keep in mind, Hektar.AI is growing, and Erik and his team are developing it. So maybe like in 5 months' time, something crazy happens, and it's like all the countries are available. Like you never know with the startups.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think it's definitely worth checking it out and having your subscription, or even just like following them to see what they're doing all day. Okay, so someone says very good program, thanks. Okay, so someone already enjoyed it. This one's a question about different AI tools I can suggest as an architect. You can check out them on my YouTube. I've done a lot of these workshops, and every time it's a different cool tool that I'm a fan of. And then I use it very strongly for a week and get really into it. And then now I feel like I'm so much more developed just from the 3 months of doing these workshops. I've tested so much different stuff. So yeah, you can just check it out on the page, honestly. And also, yeah, what Muhammad is saying, this is an interesting usage of AI for architecture. I was thinking the same thing because you always see like visualization happening
Mm, mm.
or also Conf UI, like more specific visualization.
Yeah.
But this is something I need because I, I have no background in understanding anything like how in urban planning. So everything I know is like from lectures and stuff, and I know how to do it. Like I assemble it so it looks nice, and then I check it based on data. But this is something that could really have benefited me a lot of times. So I'm
Mm.
definitely going to use it for my next project. Now I also have a Pulimia. I have to assemble some buildings, so I'm
Cool.
definitely going to test it out for that. I hope it's available for Italy because I'm going to need
Definitely,
it.
definitely.
Okay, great. Any more questions, guys? While we still have Erik here with us. Uh, okay, any more questions for Hektar.AI specifically? Let me see. Wait, I made this chat smaller. Now I can even see what everyone's saying. Okay. Uh, yeah, that's so people are still talking about AI. Do we have any more questions for Hektar.AI? Because my most important question was the exporting because that is something I
Yeah,
really
yeah. It's
need
and
for architecture stuff.
I think
If
that's a
it's very clear,
really it's a really important point, and also like what people are saying about like different AI tools in the chat as well. That I mean, nothing is like living in a vacuum. It's always about like, especially in architecture, it's very important to like be able to support different tools and like different workflows because no one tool is gonna solve everything. Not even like Revit or like super mature. Like there are certain things or certain tools that are specializing in each area. So it's so important to be able to like use them for the right purpose and for them to talk to each other.
Definitely. Okay, I think we don't have a lot more questions. Maybe you were just super clear because I've never had this before. People always have
All
like
right.
5,000 million questions. Maybe you're just incredibly clear, which is amazing.
Everybody
But
gets
if
it.
there are any more questions, I'm gonna send it over. I'm gonna DM you guys or ask you whatever people keep asking. But I think this was incredible. So thank you all for coming. If there's no more questions, I would just say if you want to watch more of these AI workshops, you can follow them on my YouTube. I'm going to add all of the links from Hektar.AI and Erik and his team as well in the description, so you can check it out. You can also just Google Hektar.AI. I'm sure you'll stumble upon it. It's like you said, it's free to use. Yeah, check it out. And I will see you guys next week for the next workshop because we are still keeping it strong in the fall with workshops every week. So thank you all. Thank you, Erik. This was a lovely before dinner experience.